Thank you so much. I'm originally from the South, so this is dedicated to all my great aunts and the people who populated my childhood. I like the yellow brick post office in town with its red awnings and these blue letterboxes that stand out on the sidewalk. And I like that every house has a pot of beans or a pot of greens simmering on the stove. And in Independence, Mississippi, first thing anyone says when you enter into their house is hello. And then the next thing is go fix yourself a plate.
Mm.
And not everyone lives where they live out of choice. Sometimes it's a question of love or luck or circumstance. And where I grew up, and you sort of like the way that I grew up, I just mangled up my stomach. So mostly I live off of toast and boiled eggs. And I have this bad habit of cracking the boiled eggs on my knee and then peeling off the shells into these tissues. And then I forget about them for forever and ever. So there are forever these eggshells in my purse and in my pockets and in the washing machine. And I gotta tell you, it drove my first husband crazy. But you know what? I always loved Dixon. I mean, I liked him mostly, but occasionally I really did love him. And quite frankly, that was enough to make a good life. I mean, he drank, of course, because everybody in town did, but especially on payday. But you know what? He was never mean about it. And he loved to dance. And Dixon used to take me out to the clubs with him on Saturday night. They were just these cinder block joints with Christmas lights hanging inside and a smoker out back. And on Saturdays, this carload would drive in from Memphis, and they were all these blues singers, and they'd roll up, and then our favorite singer, and I mean, well, she was Dixon's favorite singer too. She sort of moved like Marilyn Monroe, and her voice, I'm telling you, her voice would bury these diamonds deep in your soul for you to get out later. And she did it all in a black fringe dress that was so old and so tight, didn't even zip up anymore. I had this young slide guitarist with her, and they would moan and yell, and you could see him look out from the bandstand and just deciding who they're going to sleep with that night. And I mean, why not? Because everybody I know needs a bed. So Dixon broke his foot on the job once, and it never healed good as new. So he stopped wanting to dance, and because my stomach never let me drink, I stopped going with him, and I took the early shift at the bakery on Sundays. It was an excuse for not going out with him on Saturday nights. And well, Miss Pulaski, she was real nice to me. And she gave me an apron, a compactor blush, and I had to use a lot of the blush because I tend to look a little bit sickly, but I can make buttercrust bread so good it makes the place smell like heaven. And Sunday mornings, 20 minutes before church and 20 minutes after church sold out, I sold out every single crumb I ever made. The first time Dixon didn't come home, the first time I yelled at him and I said, "You better not set foot in my house drunk." And you know what? He never did. He slept it off in the bathtub out in that front yard. It was this claw-footed thing. It was like, like a great monument that just refused to be moved. So I made it into a potted garden, and I had all my little pots in there, like mini rose bushes and African violets and black-eyed Susans and forget-me-nots. Then the first time I woke up and he wasn't there, and his side of the bed was empty, man, I was mad as hell. He'd come home that night, but he was drunk. And with great drunken care, he took all my pots out of the bathtub and he threw them on the ground and fell asleep. And I hauled a pitcher of ice cold water outside and I dumped it right on his head. And then the shock jerked him so violent that he broke a toe on his good foot and he didn't speak to me for a month. So I tried to be a little bit nicer after that. And I'm not saying it was hard to be nice to him. I mean, he always looked good and he stayed slim and handsome the whole time, which is more than I can say for most husbands. But there was this one time I was sleeping with the windows open, and I heard him out in the tub snoring. And I dragged my kitchen stool out just so I could sit and sort of look over him. And the crepe myrtle tree we had in the yard, it had shed all of its blossoms, and so he was sleeping under this blanket of white petals. I tell you that touch is a very powerful thing, and its absence will eat away at your soul. So I made some coffee for him, and I went out and stuck it under his nose, and he laid his head back over the side of the room, and I started running my fingers through his hair. That man had the most beautiful hair I've ever seen. Black with just a slight touch of gray at the sideburns. Of course, it always smelled like smoke, and occasionally it smelled like, well, it smelled like other stuff, but that never lasted very long. And I turned on the garden hose real easy, and I started washing his hair with my apple shampoo. And that cold water, and my hands massaging away. Well, he said it was the best cure for a hangover there ever was. And then he climbed out and he whipped his head around and he got us both wet. And then he pulled off his shoes and he pulled me close, and our bare feet just sank into that muddy ground. Things get taken away from you so quickly, don't they? Or is it just me? Maybe I'm just clumsy about everything. I never could hold on to a pair of house keys for more than a week. Dixon had to make extra ones. He had them buried all around the yard for me to find. And my favorite blue sweater, it got snatched off the coat rack while I was having my hair done by some brand new blonde. And I couldn't even find the words to claim it as mine. And then Dixon got killed suddenly. It wasn't anything fancy, just a car accident. And there wasn't anybody to sit with me at the funeral, because we didn't have kids and we didn't have parents, neither of us. And then that singer, that moved like Marilyn Monroe, she came to the service, which I thought was real nice. And then she asked if she couldn't keep me company in the first pew. And she told me, she said, "I don't believe in church, ma'am, but death leaves behind the living, and well, that's who needs caring for." And she came in that black dress that didn't zip up all the way. She just had a little jacket over it. And I was so happy because I felt, well, maybe at least one of us looks like a widow, because all I had was this black armband to wear. And then the organist didn't show. I mean, who calls in sick to a funeral? So anytime the preacher said, "Let us sing," that beautiful woman, she just stood up. And the very last song, she stood up and she had everybody singing, "This may be the last time. This may be the last time, children. This may be the last time. May be the last time. I don't know." And me, I pulled the tissue out of my pocket to blow my nose, and eggshells went everywhere. I mean, the casket rolls by, and I can't leave the pew because I don't know where to step. And she takes my arm and she stands me up, and she stamps her heels on all those eggshells, just brushes them aside. And I start laughing so hard that I can't stop. And then she starts laughing so hard she can't stop. She just pulls me into the aisle of the church, and we go walking and we're laughing. And she whispers into my ear, she says, "Baby, laughter and tears are first cousins. They're just first cousins. So that's all right. You just laugh at it all."
Loved it. Loved it.
Yeah. Great.